Hi, in the physics series, especially of +1 segment, we are going to start with kinematics. And let me tell you, this particular series, the +1 segment series, has been designed and tailored for the competitive segment. Uprightly, I am telling you, for those students who are supposed to, watch these videos for the basic elements of +1, it is not suitable. It is specifically designed and tailored, again I am telling you this, for the competitive exams like JEE Mains, Advanced and the NEET, right? So please, only those students who are interested for the competitive scenarios and the segments, they must watch these videos. Otherwise, for the basic elements, you may find many other videos on the YouTube suitable enough to guide you for the basic elements of +1. Because in this particular video, in these particular videos especially, we have designed them for the higher levels, for the higher level numericals, and then the objectives, and then the patterns of the competitions. So please, point number 1 is this, and point number 2, and which is the last point and very important point, please watch these videos right from the beginning, like lecture number 1, because I'm going to name them like lecture number 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Please don't jump over the lectures. Please don't go to lecture number 5, lecture number 4, lecture number 1, and then maybe the lecture number 18. It's not done, right? So please, I request, watch these videos right from the beginning, from lecture number 1 till the lecture number last. Moreover, from the unit number 1, that is for me it is kinematics, and to the unit last, which is the oscillation and waves. I assure you, you will be benefited. You will not find as if like the investment that you have done in terms of your time in these videos, in watching these videos, was a waste. You will be really enjoying these videos, and it will be a learning spree, I assure you. Okay, so now let's begin. Let's begin with the quick review of kinematics. Okay, so it is, let me write, quick review of kinematics. Again, as the nature of the videos are, so I am considering as if like you know the basic elements of kinematics, and in kinematics I am going to start with the very first and very important segment, that is vectors. Actually, vectors is a mathematical tool. It's not at all the direct entity and part of kinematics, but it is a mathematical tool and is very important to understand many the ins and outs of kinematics. Through vectors it becomes very easy to understand, so that is why we are going to start with vectors, and the basic elements like distance, displacement, speed, velocity, acceleration, retardation, these all elements are clear, and that is what I am considering as it, right? So vectors, and let's have the quick review of vectors. So let's start. Vectors, as per the definition, we know that these are the elements which have got magnitude as well as the direction, and direction is always associated with a defined physical quantity, and those physical quantities are called as vectors, right? So vectors has got their certain rules by which we can add the vectors, we can subtract the vectors, we can multiply the vectors. Obviously we cannot divide two vectors. Okay, now quickly, if we talk about any physical quantity, we can talk in terms of that they can be scalars, they can be vectors, right, and they can be tensors. And this again you might have studied in your the basic core classes. What are scalars, what are vectors, and what are tensors. Now since we are talking about vectors only, so let's move on to the vectors directly. Vectors can be broadly classified as polar vectors and axial vectors. Okay, so we suggest that all the translatory quantities, I must use the word quantities. Translatory quantities means like if we talk about distance, I have not used the word angular, or I'll talk about displacement. If say I'm going to talk about velocity, speed, acceleration, okay, force, and all these such quantities which are translatory in nature and not rotatory in nature, they are normally represented by polar vectors. And the quantities which are rotatory in nature, like angular displacement, if you really have to express it, you have to express it in terms of axial vector. Angular velocity, axial vector, right? So torque, this is the rotatory effect of force. So all the rotatory natured elements are normally represented by axial vectors, and all the translatory entities or the quantities or the physical entities which are related with translatory segment of the kinematics, they are represented by polar vectors. This is the basic thumb rule, you may say, where we have to use the polar vectors and where we are going to utilize the axial vectors. So these are the two different segments where we are utilizing the polar and the axial, the translatory and rotatory. Again, it is the basic element, and you might have read it, but just for the sake of the brushing up, I am telling you it very quickly. Okay. Now, if we talk about the polar vector, quickly, it is graphically going to be represented like an arrowhead with a tail and a head, and the magnitude of this vector, and the length of this vector is going to tell us about the magnitude. Okay, the length is going to tell us about the magnitude. There is a fixed entity tail and the other fixed entity head. Okay, so tail, head, and the length is going to denote us, give the value of magnitude. In case of axial vector, the basic difference is that length of vector is not the deciding factor of magnitude. Means with the length of the vector, we cannot tell you guys about the magnitude. So say if the axial vector is this long, it means the magnitude is quite high. If the axial vector is this small, the magnitude is small. No, it's not going to happen in the axial vectors. But yes, truly it is going to happen in the polar vectors, right? In polar vectors, the length is magnitude. In axial vector, the length is not going to give us the value of the magnitude. Yes, of course, the directions only can be sorted out with the axial vectors, and that too quickly I am going to tell you how exactly. I'm going to wipe it off, right? Because I need the portion of the board. So say I'm going to draw roughly a tabletop, okay, and say there is a nail, and with the nail there is a thread, and this bob is circulating around this nail or rotating around this nail. Okay, now this bob has got an angular velocity omega, right? Again, I'm not going to tell you what is omega, what is angular velocity, because on the very first segment of the lecture I have told you that I am considering that you guys know the basic elements of kinematics. So this is angular velocity omega. And now, if this is the angular velocity, then how can I represent the angular velocity in the vector form through the axial vector? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use my right hand, curl the fingers and extend your thumb or open up your thumb. The direction given by the thumb is going to be the direction of the axial vector. Okay, somewhat like this. Let's draw. I have drawn this vector like this because let me draw it out roughly. I'm not a very good artist who can draw in a very good way, but give me a chance to draw it. See, okay, and like this. So you can see if I am going to draw it like this. See, just see it. Okay. So what we have done, we just have, since this body is going to rotate like this, see the curl of my fingers, see the curl of the fingers, somewhat like this, yes or no? So this is the curl of the finger, this is the curl of this is the rotation of the body, and see the thumb is pointing upwards, so likewise the vector is pointing upwards. Okay, so this is how we are going to represent the axial vector. And now this axial vector can be drawn from this point, can be drawn from this point, can be drawn even from this point. I'm going to remove it off. It means may the vector be this small or may the vector be this long, may the vector be this long, doesn't make any difference. May the vector be this small, this long or this long, doesn't make any difference. I'm telling you, please understand that axial vector has got no specific length to define the value of this angular entity, this angular component. Clear? So let's move ahead with the next segment, in which we have studied about the another classification, which is the position vector, displacement vector, unit vector, equal vectors, co-initial vectors, co-planar vectors, then localized vectors, non-localized vectors, again negative vector, zero vector. This all that you have studied, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. This all you have studied in your basic theory work. What is a position vector, what is a displacement vector, and so on. Yes, undoubtedly I am going to sum up with the basic notation of a vector which has got a vector in the form of its magnitude and the direction, where you very well know this is called the unit vector and this is the magnitude segment of the vector, right? So this you know. Okay, so in the quicker session I am just going to explain about the direct entities, and A cap is A vector divided by magnitude of A. Again we know this is the very common formula that we are going to use in the analysis of direction, right? And then it comes out to be let's move on to the triangle law, which denotes the addition of vectors, means R vector is equal to A vector plus B vector. You might remember this. It is under root of A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. And let me just quickly draw it. This is A, this is B, and the angle is theta between A and B. So we normally write it as A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. This is how we get the magnitude of the resultant. Then, in fact, let me draw it like this to be on the clearer and better side. It is A and this is B and this angle is theta, because I am talking about the triangle law. So I must represent it in the same format as the triangle law is. Okay, so it is the magnitude R, which is A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta and square root. Now we are going to find out the value of the angle that the resultant is going to make. This is the resultant, right? This is the resultant, and the angle it is going to make is alpha. So what is tan alpha? Tan alpha is B sin theta upon A plus B cos theta. That too again you very well know. Not to explain it right here. You can again watch the basic videos, right? Even I am going to frame the basic videos for all these segments, but initially this physics series is for the competition, so I am just talking about the competitive segment and just taking these entities for the sake of a glance, for the sake of a ready reckoner that I am just going to review it, revise it to tell exactly to you guys that what have you studied, right? So tan alpha is b sin theta upon a plus b cos theta. Now, if the same we are going to represent in terms of a minus b, then what is going to happen? Say there is another r prime. It's not I'm going to use the word r resultant, but still I am representing with r and then a prime, r prime, and say I am representing it with a minus b. Then what will be the magnitude of r prime? It will be a square plus b square minus 2ab cos theta and under root. Basically, what has happened? You again might be knowing it. If this angle is theta, just rotate this by 180 degrees, and this vector is now going to become negative vector. That is, whenever a vector is rotated by 180 degrees, then the same vector will be called as a negative vector. So I have rotated it and now it has become a negative vector, and this is then going to represent, let me draw it here, this is then going to represent the subtraction vector, that is a minus b. This is, which is r prime. This is a minus b and it is given by this. And similarly, if this is now the angle alpha prime, and what is going to be tan alpha prime, it is the same formula, but this time I'm going to replace this theta by 180 minus the theta. This is the quicker way to understand it, and or to keep it in your mind. Just replace this theta by 180 minus theta and you are going to get the exact result. So it will come out to be b sin theta upon a minus b cos theta, right? So this is going to be tan alpha prime in this a minus b workout. I think the point is clear. Now let's move on to the next. Let me just quickly wipe it off. Okay, and I am going to put up the next part, which is the base vectors, in which we are going to talk about I, j and k, right? That is, for x coordinate it is the unit vector I which has been fixed, for y coordinate j cap has been fixed, and for z coordinate k cap has been fixed. Okay, so any vector can be represented as ax I cap, ay j cap and az k cap, where we do call ax, ay and az, ax, ay and az are called the components of A along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, right? This is normally how do we term it as that A vector has got three components with ax, ay and az, where ax is for the x-axis, ay is for the y-axis and az for the z-axis correspondingly. And what is I, j and k? Dear, I, j and k are the corresponding base vectors representing the x coordinate axis, and j for the y coordinate axis and k for the z coordinate axis, right? So this is how we represent the A vector. Similarly, say if there is a B vector, that is bx I cap, by j cap and bz k cap, then this time if you really wish to add these two vectors, then you will add x component with x, right, y component with y and j component with j. And similarly you can subtract also, means ax minus bx, ay minus by and az minus bz. If in case you are supposed to subtract this, means if it is minus, then minus, then minus and minus. Okay, clear? So this is again that we have done in terms of the base vectors. Moreover, let me just quickly wipe it off. Moreover, if I am supposed to get the magnitude of A, then what will be the magnitude of A? It is ax square it is ay square plus az square and under root. Okay, ax square plus ay square plus az square and under root, that is going to be the magnitude of a vector, right? So this is the way we are going to work out with the base vectors in terms of a given vector, because base vectors are representing the components of a given vector on the x coordinate, y and z. Now let's talk about, I was just picking the cap of my marker, it has fallen down. Okay, so on the easy note, let's move on to the next part of it. That is the product of vectors. Okay, so product of vectors are of two kinds. One is the dot product and the other is cross product. Okay, one is the dot product, other is the cross product. Dot product is a dot b, cross product is a cross b, and a dot b is a b cos theta. Okay, and this is a b sin theta, and along with that is n cap. The direction is also involved in it. So this is the n cap, and in fact I can also state like this: the magnitude of a cross b is just a b sin theta. This time I am not talking about n cap, and this is just a b cos theta, and that is why we also call dot product as scalar product. Yes or no? We call dot product as scalar product because the result is scalar in nature, and the cross product is vector product because the cross product is vector in nature, has got a direction. And by the way, what is the direction of n cap? The direction of n cap is given by tuck. Let's again draw it quickly. This is A, this is B, and this is angle theta, and I'm moving from A to B, so thumb is going to move upwards. So n cap is a vector which is in a plane perpendicular to both A and B, right? Means the plane in which both A and B are present, n cap will be perpendicular to that particular plane, and this is going to be the direction of the cross product. So in that case, if in case you are supposed to find out a unit vector which is perpendicular to both A and B, so you can use this logic directly to get the result. Okay, so this is the dot product, this is the cross product. Fine. And then how exactly we are going to move ahead with the base vectors, that I am going to brief. Let me just wipe it off. And because I need this space, again I am going to write dot product and cross product. Doesn't make any big deal with me. I can write it a bundle of times, product, dot product and cross product. Okay, so it is, say A vector is ax I cap, ay j cap and az k cap, and B vector is bx I cap, by j cap, bz k cap. Now what I am going to do is, this is A dot B, that means it is ax I cap plus ay j cap plus az k cap dot with bx I cap, by j cap and bz k cap. Now we are supposed to find the dot product, and in dot product we also have studied that I dot I is 1, j dot j is 1, k dot k is 1, and I dot j is 0, j dot k is 0, and k dot I is also 0. And why this is 1, why this is 0, you know still. Okay, fine, let me tell you what is the magnitude of I cap, 1. What is the magnitude of this I cap? Okay, let me write it like this, again 1. And then by definition, what is the angle, cos of the angle, and what is the angle between I and I? 0 degrees. So 1 into 1 into cos 0, cos 0 is also 1. So 1 into 1 into 1 is 1. Very right, you have got it. So it is 1 here. So I dot I is 1, j dot j is 1, k dot k is 1, I dot j is 0, j dot k is 0, and k dot I is also 0. Okay, let me write it here. Okay, and similarly, I cross I, J cross J, K cross K, and this is going to be 0, whereas I cross J is K. How exactly it is K? That is how I'm going to write it. I'm going to tell you. Still I know, you must be knowing it. Still, no, I'm trying to be smart. So it is 1, 1 and sine 90. Sine 90 means angle between I and J is, and then n cap. And by the way, what is n cap? N cap is a vector which is perpendicular to both I and J. Right? N cap is a vector which is perpendicular to both I and J. Now, which vector is both perpendicular to both I and J? It is none other than K. Okay, so 1, 1, 1 and K, so that is why the answer came out to be K cap. So I cross J is K cap. Now let me just wipe it off. So, son and daughters, it is I cross J is K cap, J cross K is I cap, and K cross I is J cap. Ij is K, Jk is I, Ki is J. Simple. And if you are going to revert it, J cross I minus K, K cross J minus I cross K minus J. That's it. Right? So this is in particular that you have to keep it in your mind. Okay. So let us utilize it. Now please see over here. Now we know that I dot I only can give you 1 as a result, means a defined result. So I and I can be taken as the dot product. If I am going to multiply I with J, the result will be 0 in fact. So that is why I am not going to multiply I with J, I am not going to multiply J with K. What I am going to do is I am just going to multiply I with I, J with J and K with K to have this in my mind. Okay, so it is AX BX plus AY BY plus AZ BZ, that's all. Okay, so this is going to be the result of the dot product. Similarly, what is going to be the result of the cross product? Let me just quickly wipe it off. And I'm going to have the result of cross product, that is, let me use the black marker, A cross B. So it is I, J, K, and it is AX, AY, AZ, BX, BY, BZ, and then plus minus plus. So it is plus I cap minus J cap and plus K cap. And what I'm going to do is, you very well know, right? What numbers that are for I cap? Consider that this column is not present and the numbers present are AY, AZ, BY, BZ. So this into this minus this into this. So I can write AY, BZ, AY, BZ minus BY, AZ, BY, AZ. Right? Similarly for J, it is AX, BZ, BX, AZ. Similarly for K, it is AX, BY, BX, AY. Okay, you want me to write it? So quickly I can write it for you guys. What is it all? So it is AX, BZ minus BX, AZ. Similarly, AX, BY minus BX and AY. That's all. And this is A cross B. And you might have found I, J and K are perpetually involved in it. If I, J, K and are involved in it, it means this is going to be a vector. Okay. If I am actually going to put the numbers or the values here, I can certainly get this. Right? So, I think again I have made my point clear to you guys in terms of A cross B, and I even have given the concept of A dot B. Right? Let's move ahead. Next segment of it. Let me just quickly wipe it off.